Hi. In this video, we're going to talk about a practice called unstoppable friendliness. In a world where it feels like everybody's angry and it's easy to get everybody angry, maybe one of the things we need is more friendliness. And what many of us could benefit from is an increased capacity for friendliness. So, in this video, we'll talk about unstoppable friendliness, a practice for cultivating your ability to increase your capacity for friendliness. So, join us and enjoy. Hi, everyone. Welcome to tonight's mindfulness class, also known as a resilience practices class. I have to we have to name it both because we're using both names and people are going, "Wait, which class is this?" So welcome. I'm one of your hosts. I'm Frank, and I'm here with Vivian. Hi, Vivian.
Hi, Frank. Hello, everyone.
So, oh yeah, and then you were going to do the introduction. Sorry,
That's okay.
we're stumbling around getting used to the new platform. We just a moment ago we were going, wait, how do we start? Oh, we just admit everybody. Okay, take it away.
Okay, so yes, welcome everyone to the mindfulness practices class. We are happy that you're here. These classes, whether they're resilience practices or mindfulness practices, and if you see in the slide deck, we call them resilience practices classes because mindfulness is just one set of tools that you can apply towards building greater resilience in your life. And we speak to different buckets. So that's why we've been, right, jumping around on the title. Eventually, we will land on, I think resilience is what we like. Um, so, yes, this class is suitable for people of any level of practice. We actually don't assume that you have any prior experience with the techniques or the concepts that we share. So, we will be guiding you every step of the way in the guided practice period. Since today is the last week of the month, we always dedicate that to a broader, longer question and answer period. And so have your questions ready. They can be about the theme for the month, which has been unstoppable friendliness towards yourself, others, um, all beings. Did I miss someone?
I
Oh, loved ones,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Don't forget them.
You can bring your questions related to that, or it could be generally about our practices or what we're doing. So you know, we're making the time to have that interaction. This is our first Q&A in through Zoom. So we're hoping there'll be much more room for interaction and engagement. I know it's going to, for those of you that have been coming to the prior sessions with the other format, maybe it's taking a little bit getting used to, but we really want it to be interactive. So I invite you to engage. Um, Frank will be leading us in a shorter practice. And with that, I'll let you take it away.
Let's talk about unstoppable friendliness. That's been this month's theme. And tonight's a short practice with Q&A. So, a word about unstoppable friendliness. It's a cultivating practice. Excuse me. By that, we mean you're not trying to make anything happen right now. It's kind of a long-term goal. But what you're doing with the practice is increasing your capacity for friendliness. And a mindful aspect of the practice is noticing the limits of your friendliness. I'll say a little bit more about that in a moment. We'll see if my voice stays. So, anyway, this month we've done a portion of what I call a comprehensive unstoppable friendliness practice. The comprehensive practice is you focus on a beloved being, then you shift attention, you focus on yourself, then you shift attention, you practice focusing on a neutral being, and then a difficult or challenging being, and then all beings. What we've done this month is beloved being, and then ourselves. And then I think, oh yeah, last week we did all beings. So we're going to give you a taste of the
Uh-uh.
comprehensive practice. So what we do is bring to mind a being that fits in this category. So maybe it's a beloved being, or maybe we're focusing on a neutral being. You bring this being to mind, and then in the presence of this imagining or this remembering, we say some phrases. And there are a lot of different ways you can say these phrases. I like these phrases. You can use other phrases. I tend to like to use the same phrase over and over with each being. Part of the reason I like to do that is because if you say the same phrase, but you're focusing on making these wishes to a different being, you can notice changes in your tone. So you can imagine if I say, may you be happy and peaceful to someone I love or like or I'm fond of, the tone in my voice, even if it's my inner voice, is going to be different than maybe when I make these same wishes to myself, depending on how I feel about myself. Or say a neutral being where there's not much charge going on or much emotion, or say, with a difficult or challenging being where I might notice a constriction in my voice. I'm not saying, may you be happy and peaceful. I'm like gritting my teeth and saying, may you be happy and peaceful. This is valuable because you may already know that you've got certain limits of friendliness for reasons. Um, and it's really interesting in this cultivating practice to hear it, to experience it. So I know a challenging being is a challenging being, and I'm not going to be as open, say, as relaxed or embracing as I am with a beloved being. But saying these phrases, noticing the difference, is really valuable because it really exposes the limits of my friendliness. And if I'm doing this practice to expand my capacity, it, uh, it might be helpful to expand my capacity there too. This can always be tricky, right? Like, am I going to practice with a difficult being? Why would I do that? And the why is because expanding my capacity for friendliness, I'm the direct beneficiary of that. Sometimes our limits are arbitrary. Sometimes they're related to
Mhm.
energy or our mood. Sometimes they're related to our history of a relationship with certain beings. But if I increase my capacity, everybody that I want to benefit from it benefits. So, me directly, but let's say I now have more love, more friendliness for the beings that I do love. You might think of it like this. Focusing on a beloved being is like going to the gym and lifting a 5-pound weight. And say practicing on a difficult or challenging being is like lifting a 200-pound weight. So that can be difficult. And when I get more skilled at lifting that weight, then lifting the 5-pound weight that represents a beloved being in this metaphor is so much easier to do. And we always do what's easy. So I'd love to have access to unstoppable friendliness easily. So you'll get more of the idea of what I'm talking about as we do the practice. So let's do this practice. I'm going to try to find my notes here. The other thing we're getting used to, in addition to this format, is getting used to where everything goes on the screen when we're doing the Zoom presentation. So let's practice. So the invitation here is to get comfortable. You can do this practice in stillness or slow movement. One of the benefits to stillness is that it gives you a chance to observe more. In motion, it's possible to lose track of what you're wanting to focus on, and instead focusing on whatever happens to catch your attention, like the movement of your foot or the movement of your arm. So slow movement can be helpful, but really we encourage you to try this practice in stillness. Your eyes can be open or closed. The invitation is listen to my voice. I'm going to be providing some guidance. And all you need to do is notice what happens when you hear what I say. We encourage you to try to cultivate a gentle and friendly effort to be with whatever is happening. In terms of practice, there's nothing wrong with whatever's happening. It may be pleasant or unpleasant. It may be what we intend or don't intend. But in terms of practice, the invitation is notice. Notice what's happening. You can judge it or evaluate it if you need to later after the practice when you're, say, thinking about what your experience was like or what you learned. But during the practice, as best you can, gentle, friendly effort to be with whatever's happening, and then stop if you need to or you just want to. So let's practice. You might settle in. I like to start a practice sometimes by taking 3 deep, intentional breaths. So at your own pace, you might take a deep, full, long inhalation and follow it with a slow, long exhalation. And do that a couple of times. And you might notice the state your body is in. So you might notice if you are at ease right now, or if there's some tension or tightness in the body. If there is, let go of as much of that tension or tightness as you can. You may not be able to let go of all of it. You may not be able to let go as much of it as you'd like, but let go of any of it you can. This gentle, friendly effort can help you settle in and be ready for practice. And then sometimes the invitation in these practices is to bring your attention to an attention anchor or a meditation anchor like the breath. Here, the anchor is going to be the being that we're practicing with and the phrases, the wishes that we're making. And whenever attention wanders off or gets pulled away, the invitation is to come back to focusing on the being that you've brought to mind and the phrases. So let's start with a beloved being, a being that you love or are fond of or like. It helps with this practice to have this be a being with whom you have a relatively uncomplicated relationship and for it to be a living being. Our relationships with the dead are often complicated. So bringing to mind a beloved being that you have a relatively uncomplicated relationship with. I say being because it can be a human being, it can be a pet, It can be a spiritual being, it can be a fictional being. All that matters for this to work is for it to be a being that you really, really like. So, using as much imagination or memory as you can muster in this moment, bring this being to mind. And then imagine making these wishes to this being. May you be happy and peaceful. May you be healthy and strong in body. May you be safe and protected from harm. May you live with ease and well-being. And then the mindful part of this practice is noticing what it's like to be in the presence of this being, in the presence of these wishes. May you be happy and peaceful. May you be healthy and strong in body. May you be safe and protected from harm. May you live with ease and well-being. Now you might imagine this being turning to you and making these same wishes to you. So whether they would speak English or speak at all, imagine this beloved being making these wishes to you. May you be happy and peaceful. May you be healthy and strong in body. May you be safe and protected from harm. May you live with ease and well-being. Depending on how you're doing this practice and how long you have to do this practice, you can repeat these phrases again and again, focusing on this one being, having them focus on you, or you can shift attention. But for now, imagine both of you, this beloved being and you, making these wishes for both of you. May we both be happy and peaceful. May we both be healthy and strong in body. May we both be safe and protected from harm. May we both live with ease and well-being. Now, depending on your imagination or memory, you might send this beloved being on their way, knowing that you can call upon them at any time, or you can have them sit down in your mind to the right or left of you. What we're going to do now is shift attention so that we're focusing on you. So making these wishes, these good wishes to yourself. May you be happy and peaceful. May you be healthy and strong in body. May you be safe and protected from harm. May you live with ease and well-being. And you mindfully hang out. Notice what this feels like. Maybe it's similar to when you were focused on a beloved being. Maybe it's different. You can also phrase these statements in the first person. May I be happy and peaceful. May I be healthy and strong in body. May I be safe and protected from harm. May I live with ease and well-being. Now shifting attention once more. This time bring to mind a neutral being. This is a being that you're aware of, but you don't really know. This might be an acquaintance. It might be the barista at the coffee house. Somebody that you're aware of, but that you don't really know. Again, if you have a number of beings to choose from for now, just pick one. You can always practice with others at other times. So with this neutral being in mind, make these wishes to them. May you be happy and peaceful. May you be healthy and strong in body. May you be safe and protected from harm. May you live with ease and well-being. Remember, we're not trying to make anything in particular happen. We're practicing and noticing what does happen. So now you might send this neutral being on their way, or again, if you'd like, you can invite them to sit down beside you to the right or to the left. And we're going to shift attention again, this time to a being who brings some challenge or difficulty to your life. So for this practice, bring to mind a being that only brings a little bit of trouble, mild to start with. Bring this being to mind and make them as vivid as you want them to be. So when you bring this being to mind, you can have them standing or sitting close or far away, depending on what your relationship is. Whatever feels safe enough, comfortable enough with this being in your mind. And now practice making these wishes to them and noticing what it feels like. May you be happy and peaceful. May you be healthy and strong in body. May you be safe and protected from harm. May you live with ease and well-being. Noticing what it's like to be in the presence of this being and these wishes. And now send this being on their way, or if you'd like or can tolerate it, you might have them stand or sit next to you to the right or the left. We're going to shift attention once more, and we're going to really broaden attention so that we're focusing on all beings everywhere, known and unknown, without exception. Maybe your mind can be broad enough, wide enough, open enough to include all beings, maybe not, but doing the best you can to all beings everywhere, known and unknown, without exception. May you be happy and peaceful. May you be healthy and strong in body. May you be safe and protected from harm. May you live with ease and well-being. May all beings everywhere, known and unknown, without exception, may you be happy and peaceful. May you be healthy and strong in body. And may you be safe and protected from harm. May you live with ease and well-being. To all beings everywhere, known and unknown, without exception, may we all be happy and peaceful. May we all be healthy and strong in body. May we all be safe and protected from harm. May we all live with ease and well-being. May we all be happy and peaceful. May we all be healthy and strong in body. May we all be safe and protected from harm. May we all live with ease and well-being. And now you might shift your focus, bring it to you, bring it to breathing. Feel breathing happening and just sit in this space or stand in this space. Just be in this space right now. And to conclude our practice for tonight, if you'd like, you might express some gratitude or appreciation to yourself for practicing. You might silently or out loud say something to yourself like, "Thank you for your practice," or "I'm grateful for your attention," or "I appreciate you hanging out with me." And if your eyes are closed, you might open them, look around the space you're in, and might move your head, shrug your shoulders, stretch, wiggle your fingers, wiggle your toes, yawn if you'd like. And this will conclude our practice for this evening. Thank you for your practice. Now we have some time for comments, questions, answers, explorations. Here's one. I noticed that it was more difficult to say the words in the same tone to the more difficult being than with the beloved. Yeah, yeah. Right. In some ways, not surprising. It's like I'm usually busy voicing the opposite sentiment to enemies, either in my head or out loud. It's like, may you rot in hell or something like that. Um, and so it's interesting to feel that difference. And one of the things I noticed over time, so I have a neighbor that was pretty reliable to count on as the enemy. That's the other thing. In traditional practices, they don't refer to that being as the difficult being or challenging being. They refer to them as the enemy. And so I would use this neighbor as my example every time I did the class on unstoppable friendliness. And then at some point I noticed it does I'm not as, angry or frustrated or he doesn't bother me as much anymore. Still bothers me, but, I can still
Is it the
use
leaf
him.
blower person?
No, oh, no, that's somebody
Oh, that's a
else.
different one.
Yeah, no, this is a person yeah, no, this is another person. But, one of the things that happens, right, is that the, hardness or unfriendliness toward a difficult being, it lightened up for me. Now, it depends on how difficult the being is, right? If you're talking about your parents, that may be difficult. If you're talking about somebody with whom you've had a traumatic experience, I wouldn't recommend doing this practice for a long time. Practice with all the other beings a lot first. Here's another comment. Very difficult to do for all beings knowing what horrible things are going on in this world. Yeah. Yeah,
It
here's
reminds
one of the
me
oh, go ahead.
That reminds me of, what you were sharing, that meme of some instructions on how to drink your tea. The first
Oh, what
is
was it?
I
I
don't
don't
it was something
remember.
like it was like a meme of how to drink your tea with all the things that horrible that are going on in the world. And first step was recognize that it's always been that way.
Oh, yeah.
And step 2 was enjoy your tea. You know, I think that one of the things we get sucked into is because we have access to so much information and so many parts of this world, and our hearts are meant to sympathize and empathize, right? And have compassion for the suffering that we see out in the world. It sort of overwhelms us in a lot of ways, having access to all this information in situations that we really can't influence, that are well beyond our sphere of influence. And so recognizing that, and the other piece is recognizing that those people that do commit atrocities, one of the things I would do is put myself in their shoes. I think I didn't share when we've taught this series before, I've shared that I did this practice exclusively for a year and a half almost. I kind of let go of the meditation practice. This became the center of my practice because I saw myself getting very sharp in my edges with the concentration and the sensory clarity that I was experiencing. But I needed to kind of like sand down the edges. And so I started doing this practice because I felt like it was needed and I didn't know how long I was going to do it for. And it ended up going on and on and on. Um, But one of the things that I would do was turn around and put myself in the shoes of those difficult beings. And my meditation teacher has a poem called Call Me by My True Names. And he would speak to that he was all of the people, saw himself in every single person. So what would it be like to see ourselves in every single human being, with their frailties and their darkest parts and their ugliest, most atrocious parts? How can we connect with all those parts within ourselves, even the parts that we don't like, so that we can have that, we can extend truly like heartfelt compassion for those other people? Um, it is a very difficult practice, not to make light of it or make it seem like it's an easy thing, but the more you do it, to Frank's point, what he was sharing, the more the easier it becomes to begin to see that, and the lighter you hold yourself, then the more grace you give to others.
Yeah, what I just, uh, put a link in the
Oh,
chat because we can do that here. I guess we could have done it on 24, but
thank you.
to the poem that you're talking about.
Yes.
One of the ways that it's helped me is like when I think about all beings everywhere, known and unknown, right? Like that's pretty demanding. Like I'm not really thinking of all beings because my mind isn't that big. But I would playfully find myself going, known and unknown. Does that include aliens who are going to come to Earth to eat us? And apparently, all beings, without exception. And one of the things I think of is like hawks and rabbits. And I go, I am pro rabbit, so that must make me anti hawk, right? So without exception, and then I have a list of exceptions: spiders, hawks. But the more I thought about it, I go, the hawk isn't evil. It's just being a hawk. And we actually need spiders. Actually, I would argue we need all the beings. That's why they exist. And so I realized in some ways how arbitrary my judgment was. It was just my opinion. I like rabbits better than hawks. But am I going to be less friendly to a hawk than I am to a rabbit? And the answer was before this practice, yeah. But after this practice, it's like, oh, it's just my opinion. And this is the way of the world.
Yeah.
This is the way of world. All beings eat other beings, even if they're plant beings. So, here I am with my judgment thinking the world should be run differently than it is. And then I have an attitude, and this practice helped sort of reveal that to me and helped me ease up on that.
You're making me think of like when we watch nature channel, like National Geographic Channel, and you're seeing the lion and the lioness in the savannah, and they're so majestic, and you're like, wow, so beautiful. And then all of a sudden the antelopes and then the lionesses will go and chase the antelope, and all of a sudden you're horrified, and you're following your emotions the entire time. I would recommend actually practicing watching National Geographic and watching the animal world and just offering compassion to the antelope that's giving its body for the nourishment of the lion, right? And just going and compassion for the lion that it has to do this act in order to preserve its body and health, right? And so just kind of, you can do it in this you can do it with anything. Watching the news. One of the offerings that one of our facilitators was offering was, and I had shared it with her as a practice, is reading the headlines, the news headlines, and offer with each headline sending compassion to the people impacted. So she was doing that at the beginning of the workday with a group of people. She would collect the headlines from the day before or that morning and read them, and they would do a compassion practice for all the people impacted.
It's also nice to do when you're standing in line somewhere or when you're stuck in traffic or just when you're going for a walk. Every being that you see making these wishes to those beings. And this practice comes with no obligation, right? If like you
Right.
practice with a difficult being, you don't have to go make up with them or invite them back into your life, right? It's a totally internal practice just for you. If you happen to do something else with or about it, that's up to you, but there's no obligation.
Yes. There's a comment in the chat that says, and we can be arbitrary about how we judge and feel about ourselves, others, our feelings, and so on. For example, how we feel and judge shame when something bad happens to us, how we judge pain or joy, and so on. Thoughts? I love this. I love this.
Well, yeah,
Um,
yeah, I'm thinking about like when a spider scares me, I have a much different relationship to the spider than when I'm like admiring this web that I didn't walk through. Uh, right. So I'm not going, where's the spider? Where's the spider? Or when I'm thinking about spiders and what they contribute to the world and how necessary they are. Um, And sometimes that's arbitrary, right? It just depends on my mood, and sometimes it's arbitrary in the sense that I just happen to be here now, and this is the attitude that I have, or the opinion that I have. I like this comment too. I am pro eagle and pro deer. Until I saw the eagle on video pick up the deer and fly away with the deer in its talons. Hard to witness this painful reality in nature. Yeah, I don't know if any of you are as old as I am, but when I was young, there was a show on TV called Mutual of Omaha's Wild Kingdom. And and it was both enjoyable and brutal. And I'm just like going like, violence is violence. Maybe the intent is different, but yeah, it's hard to witness, and sometimes our aversion to that is what influences our opinion or the position that we take. Because I don't like it, because it's unpleasant, therefore, I don't like the eagle, for example. I see, I watch that every week. Yeah. I even have the voice in my head announcing Mutual of Omaha. I can't reproduce it, but Mutual of
And the other
Omaha's
piece
Wild
is
Kingdom.
when things are happening, we're having one vantage point of it. And one of the things that I learned also was that that's just one perspective of the situation. So I look at this teacher of mine, Thich Nhat Hanh. So he was exiled because of the Vietnam War. Exile is bad. It's actually really catastrophic personally. But if he hadn't been exiled, he wouldn't have built a whole following in the West. And his teachings, he would have just been an obscure monk in a Vietnamese monastery, which nothing is wrong with that, right? But he's now passed, but in his lifetime, he wrote hundreds of books, built a dozen practice centers all around the world. And this was all a side effect of him being exiled for 40 years. He didn't find his way back until he was a senior. So a lot of times we see things from our little vantage point with the little amount of information we have and not see the ripple effects that it's had, right? I can take my own example. My family comes from the Middle East. They were part of the genocides that were committed in World War I. So I'm the granddaughter of genocide survivors. And if we had stayed where we were, I probably would have never been born for sure. But let's say under some miraculous circumstance, the DNA configured just right and I happened to be born, I would have very limited options living in southeastern Turkey compared to the options I have or I have had in my life. So we don't know is the thing. And every single event you can imagine has, as weird as it sounds, has positive and negative and neutral elements to it. So if you're only seeing the positive, know that it's an obscured view. If you're only seeing the negative, know that you're seeing an obscured view. Or if you're seeing it as neutral, it's definitely also an obscured view because it's a blend of all.
I also want to say a bit about the challenge of practicing with a difficult being, with the enemy, is this is I don't know if this idea is true or not, but I like it, and it has a big influence on the way I am in the world, and that is the belief that people act out from their suffering, and so to the extent that I can have unstoppable friendliness and ease their suffering, that really is an invitation to not feel the suffering that is causing them to act out.
Hmm.
And I want to say, there's uh, I always want to say like on a good day, and then not every day is a good day, but it's really more like on a good moment, right? I have this, I'm connected to this value, this belief, and I can act on it. And not every day it's like that. Some days when I'm stuck in traffic, if I try to do unstoppable friendliness practice, doesn't work. Instead, I'm listening to Nine Inch Nails and screaming as I am going down the 405. But it's possible when it's possible, and the more we practice, the more possible it is.
Yeah.
I'm
And
looking here
sometimes
at. Oh,
the
go ahead.
people that are the most difficult are the people that we hold most dear, like our parents. And to me, practicing, if I believed all the things that my parents believed and had all the experiences that they had, I would have the exact same perspective. And that kind of shifted my view and my relationship and how I related to my parents, just by virtue of the fact that if I could, I didn't need to step in their other shoes. I didn't have to stand in their shoes or understand their perspective, but all I could see is if I believe those things to be true, the things that I'm hearing, I would be reacting the same exact way, right? And that oftentimes when you're listening to news, you're just hearing the perspective. And yes, if you believe that to be true, if they hold those things to be true, then it's justified in their mind, right? It's the fact that you're standing from a different vantage point, a different perspective, that there's that miscommunication. But living in this human family, there's as many variations as there are humans as far as perspective. And so how can I hold my feelings, notions, ideas, biases, everything that feeds into my perspective, um, lightly enough and in a big enough container that I can also include everyone else? That's that. That's the bigger ask, do you think, when with doing this practice?
Yeah, I think also because we increase our capacity to be friendly and kind to ourselves, then when I encounter something that is unresolvable because it doesn't really need a resolution, like the hawk or rabbit scenario, or the eagle and the deer, is that then I could also have compassion for me, the being that is saddened by seeing that. And that doesn't have to be a good agent and a bad agent. I don't have to make anyone good or bad. I can be sad. I can be happy for the eagle or the hawk, and I could be sad for the rabbit or the deer. Of course, you'll always see me trying to help the rabbit hide, but that's just my bias. We're going to need to stop for now. May you be happy and may you be peaceful. And we'll see you all next week. Thank you.
Thank you all.